I'm Sherilyn Skolnicki, and this is Brilliant Balance, the show for working women who are ready to shine. Each week, I bring you ideas, inspiration, and insight on balance, business, and getting it all done gracefully. You ready? Let's be brilliant. This is episode 190 of the Brilliant Balance podcast. Are your habits working for you or against you? Well, hello, my friends. Before I get into all the good stuff in today's episode, I wanted to share something with you that I'm super excited about, and I hope you will be too. If you have been around a while listening to the podcast or being a part of this community, you will remember that we did a program a while back called 30 Days to Vibrant Energy. And the program was first offered in July of 2019. I know that because it was right when I got back from a big vacation I took that summer with my family. And I was very ready for a reboot on all the good habits that I used to take care of myself. And I did that right along with a bunch of you back in 2019. Every time we have done this since, the reviews just blow us away. Like, this is a program that never gets old. Like, there is so much demand, so many of you who really want to have a vibrant sense of energy in your life. You want to stop feeling so tired all the time. So consequently, every time we would do this, there would be someone who wanted to start and it would be too late. We'd be halfway through it because we were doing everything as a completely live experience. So I wanted to find a way to make this accessible to you on demand. And my team has finally found a little break in the universe here where we could create that, and we are ready for you. So we have now turned 30 Days to Vibrant Energy into a program, one that you can take at any time. And I'm so excited to open the doors to this one for you. Here's who this is for. If you are someone who finds yourself saying things like, why am I so tired all the time? Or where is the coffee? Or maybe it's my hormones, right? Maybe there's something out of whack with my hormones, but you're pretty sure that that isn't it. Or, you see women out there who look fit and rested and fully engaged in their lives, and you wonder, what is the secret? What do they know that you don't know? If that sort of sounds like you, if you are just running on empty a lot of the time, then this really is for you. This program is one of my favorites. It is deceptively simple, and we are going to be solving the 4 problems that all exhausted women really face. The program is going to be available all the time, right? You can start whenever it makes sense for you. But I do want to tell you that for the first 4 weeks that we have this up and running, I am personally going to be hosting the weekly coaching call. So if you're interested in being a part of that, where you can get some coaching directly from me, you're going to want to do this right now at the beginning. So the first 4 weeks, which will start on Monday. If you're listening to this episode the week that it comes out, so it'll come out on June 15th, then June 21st will be the first of the group calls, and I will host 4 in a row. So anytime during that month, you'll still have a chance to have me hosting a call, and then we will have coaches from my team hosting the coaching calls throughout the program on an ongoing basis. The whole program is just $99. So this is a great way if you've never done a Brilliant Balance program before, or if you have and you need a booster shot, this is just a great way to dip a toe in. I've linked everything up for you at one webpage. It's brilliant-balance.com. So that's our regular website, /energy, brilliant-balance.com/energy. And I am so looking forward to going through this experience right along with you over the first 4 weeks, and to welcoming many, many of our listeners into this program in the coming months. Okay, on to the episode. So today we are going to talk about habits. And habits just fundamentally matter, right? There's sort of no way around it. Our lives are essentially the result of our habits. The lives that we have today are the result of the habits that we engage in regularly. Sometimes we take a one-time action that sort of changes the course of history, right? Of our own personal history, maybe deciding who you're going to marry or accepting a job, right? Sometimes we have singular actions that of course drive, elements of our lives, but so much of our lives are dictated by our habits. And so the question that I've been asking is, are your habits working for you or against you? And this is an important question that, we want to wrestle with a little bit, is to look at all of our habits collectively, right? In all the various facets of our lives and ask ourselves, are these habits working for me or are they working against me? Now, the reason that matters is habits are virtually always formed in service to a desire that we have, okay? And we want to dance a little bit with the difference between our short-term desires and our long-term desires to figure out why we have bad habits in the first place. Because we're not irrational beings. If we know what we want, we're smart enough to know what are the habits, what are the actions, the day in and day out things that would probably make that a likely probability that we would have it. And yet, so often, we are doing the very things that take us away from our desires. Okay. And the reason is that the short-term, long-term dynamic sort of rises up and gets in the way. Here's how it works. If you think about a habit you have that you would consider a bad habit, right? Let's say that it's that you've taken to drinking a few glasses of wine every night of the week. I've heard this from lots of people that started during quarantine and they're like, this is not a great habit. I don't feel great, but I'm doing it every day. All right. That habit was conceived as a way to alleviate the stress of the day, right? Alleviate, in this case, maybe the stress of quarantine, maybe the stress of a job you don't love or a family life that's chaotic. But that habit was birthed out of a desire to alleviate a sensation of feeling an emotion that you didn't like. So in fact, there was a desire, right? I want to get rid of this feeling. And there was a habit that was designed to deliver against that desire. However, it has long-term consequences, right? We wake up in the morning, we feel foggy, or we have a headache, or we're having a hard time getting started in the morning. We're starting to struggle with some memory recall. So that particular habit, formed in service to a short-term desire, has some negative side effects and is affecting maybe some things that we have as long-term desires. Let's take the Netflix habit, probably same thing, designed in service to the desire to tune out the day, right? I'm in information overload, sensory overload. I just want to disappear into this story. And then 1 turns into 2, turns into 7. And before you know it, you've been up way too late, sleep suffers, and we're pulling ourselves away from the long-term desires that we really have. The nail biting habit, the smoking habit, the snooze button habit, all of these quote unquote bad habits, and you decide if they're bad for you or not. They're like very short-term medicines trying to deliver on a feeling that we want. And they work, but they have a very short effective life, right? They have a very short effectiveness duration. Do you ever find yourself saying, I just need a minute to breathe? While the whole idea of meditation can sound totally intimidating, I've found that stepping away from the chaos of life, even just for a few minutes, is incredibly restorative. So if you're short on time, but could use a few moments of peace right about now, listen to my 5-minute meditation for working moms. It'll help you clear your head and come back to your day feeling centered and refreshed. Head over to brilliant-balance.com/breathe. Press play and settle in for a few mini moments of peace right now. So if we want the lives we want, we have to figure out how to have habits that are in service to our long-term desires, the truest desires, the things we really want more than we want to just unwind at the end of the day, right? Or more than we want that feeling of being snugly under the covers in the morning. So I want you to ask yourself, what is it that you want? Because if you start here, if we start with an outcome, we start with an accomplishment, a relationship, dynamic, a feeling, something that we want, then we can ask ourselves, are my daily habits in service to that? Or are my daily habits really in service to a short-term desire to kind of numb out, to take away the feelings completely that I don't like, instead of moving me toward feelings that I do want over the long term? And I want to say this maybe works isn't the right word. This factor, this dynamic is at play in virtually every aspect of our lives. You can think about it in terms of your health and well-being. You can think about your habits in terms of your relationships, romantic or otherwise. You can think about habits in terms of the impact on your finances, on your career progression, on the way your household runs and is organized. You could think about habits that drive your appearance, your sense of productivity. I could go on, right? And certainly habits that make it more or less likely that you'll achieve a particular goal, like something big, like doing an Ironman, or running a marathon or starting a podcast of your own. In fact, those things are the product. The ability to achieve those things is the product of day in and day out habits. So if you are taking a look at your own habits and saying, actually, the things I'm doing day in and day out, let's just do a litany of them. I'm waking up, I'm hitting the snooze button 4 or 5 times. So I'm getting up an hour later than I really planned. I'm skipping my workout as a habit. I'm drinking caffeine all throughout the day. Then I'm kind of wired and tired at night. I'm trying to come down from that with a couple of cocktails and some Netflix or scrolling on my phone. I'm up later than I want to be so that in the morning it's harder to get up again. Like that whole cycle is a cycle driven by habitual action. And so many of us, it's just, I'm not judging it. I'm not shaming you for it. I want you to just acknowledge that it really is a dominant pattern in our society today. So I think taking a minute, taking a beat to just look at how much of our life is happening on autopilot, right? And then asking yourself, is it getting me where I want to go? Over the long term, do these habits stack in a way that I get the outcomes that I want? So there's a pathway out of this, right? Because this maybe instant gratification addiction might be another way to think about habits that are focused on our short-term gains, right? Rather than our long-term gains. You could call that instant gratification. And that leads to, sort of a distracted swirl, right? We're just chasing our own tail, trying to alleviate pain in the very, very short term, but we're not getting those long-term benefits that really good habits can give us, like good health, mindfulness, and a sense of appreciation, a simplicity, a sense of order to our lives. So if we want those things, we have to be playing the long game, and we have to connect the dots between today's actions, which I'm calling habits, and the life that we will have over time. And this requires a level of mindfulness, a level of maturity, but it's also the only thing that works. So if it's a struggle to change habits, we have to have a bigger why. We need a bigger sense of what are we doing all of this for? Okay, and go back to that. I gave you a list of areas of your life to think about: your health, your relationships, your finances, your career. When you get really clear on what the vision is, right? Let's say it's finances. I have zero debt. I have savings built and my net worth is growing every year. Like if that's the vision you're steering toward, does it make it easier to choose to put away a piece of every paycheck into savings, to choose to use a piece of that check to pay down your debt, to make decisions that build your net worth instead of eroding it? Yes, if that vision is in front of you, if you have a clear vision for a level of vitality and mobility and energy and, playfulness that you want to have in your life, does it make it easier to get enough sleep and eat well and build movement into your life and, find that joy and lightness that comes from happiness? Yes, of course. But when we lose sight of the why, that bigger long-term why, we can get really mired in avoidance. I just want to shut off today. I just want to not be here. Well, one way to not be here is to numb out with all of these short-term sort of destructive habits. But the other way to not be here is to get on a path to where you really want to be, right? That's the other way out of the current circumstances, is to habit by habit, action by action, change how it feels to be where you are, right? Get to a new place. And that is the lifestyle that I'm advocating. That is really so much of what you hear me talk about in the podcast. So much of what we teach inside of our coaching programs is reclaiming a sense of control or agency over those actions that you take day in and day out, so that bit by bit your life does change around you. It sort of changes before your very eyes. And before you know it, there's nothing to escape from, because you actually like the life that you've built, right? That's the game we're playing. And there's all kinds of ways in. Habit change is a really important one of them. So I am here to support you in building habits that will help you, in my words, stand in your brilliance and fulfill your potential. And if you want to know what the starting point is, like the very beginning of this habit change, it's how do you control your day? What do you do day in and day out? Do you feel a sense of control, or do you feel a little victimized by your day? Do you feel like you can make choices that are leading you where you want to go, or do you feel like you have no choice? And if you need a reframe on that, a really good starting point would be 30 Days to Vibrant Energy. It's, we start right at that inception point of how do you reclaim a sense of control over the rhythm of your day so that you really feel energized, vibrant, fully alive, ready to take on whatever you want to use your time and your energy in service to. But we got to get your energy threshold up so that you're not dragging through your day and finding it really difficult to do that. So much of our short-term habit addiction is driven by fatigue. It's driven by, I just can't even think beyond this. I'm just stuck here. Okay. So if you want to get started with us in that, it's a great starting point. It's at brilliant-balance.com/energy, $99 for the whole 30-day experience, including a weekly group coaching call. And it's going to be amazing. I hope you'll join me. Next week, when we're back on the show, I have an amazing guest. Elise Lunan is an absolutely brilliant woman. She is the former chief content officer at Gwyneth Paltrow's company, Goop, a longtime host of the Goop podcast, if you are a listener of that show. And we had an absolutely fascinating conversation. She drops so much wisdom in this episode. So don't miss it. That's next week, 1 week from today. Till then, my friends, let's be brilliant.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.